Well, boy do I have a fun one for you guys today. And by fun, I mean whoops. Allow me to elaborate. So, I've actually made a few videos on this channel talking about having autism as someone who self-diagnosed myself. And the thing about self-diagnosing is sometimes you diagnose yourself wrong. Now, granted, I still don't know for sure. I still could have autism, but honestly, that's kind of not the point of this video, which people are gonna take what they're gonna take from it, but just know that that is actually not the point of this video. But before I get into that, what do I probably have if it's not autism? Turns out it's just a good old trauma. Not actually, I mean, complex PTSD. But there are differences between PTSD and autism, which I'm clearly not an expert in. I really did resonate with autism though, and honestly, this is something I just realized today. I'm still processing, so there's definitely more research I could do, but just felt the need to film a video immediately. Not immediately, I mean, it's been a few hours, but because so many of my symptoms of PTSD, if I have PTSD, which we're kind of assuming I do here. I mean, did I go through the DSM and do all that? No, but it's either one or the other, or maybe a third special thing, who knows. Again, I'll get into that. But yeah, because so many of my symptoms, behaviors were related to trouble socializing, especially when I was a kid. When I was younger, it was incredibly difficult. I had selective mutism where I didn't speak for a large chunk of my life when I was at school, or I like barely spoke. Huge amount of social anxiety, right? Googling how to socialize, just feeling at a loss when it came to how other people knew how to socialize and how I didn't. So those were, and on top of that, sensory issues, sensitivity to noises, tactile stuff like tight clothing, tight sensations, hats, stuff like that were some of the main reasons why I thought I had autism. And there is symptoms of autism that overlap with ADHD too, so trouble with emotion regulation as well. These are just a few things. I mean, there's like a more extensive list I can make if I sat down and thought about it and researched, but again, not really the goal here. But yeah, it's definitely been weird since I was delivered this information today, and it's been having me reflect on how it felt when I first thought I had autism, which again, I could have, kind of up in the air right now, but I just had this moment of like emotional release where like the dams broke, is that the phrase? All the tears came out because it felt like there was finally an explanation. And how I felt was, there's not actually anything wrong with you. This is just how your brain is. And the funny thing is that that's still true. I needed to have that self-diagnosis to come to that conclusion, that there's nothing wrong with me, that what comes naturally, the behaviors I have, the things I struggle with, that it is okay for me to have those. And it still is okay, even without the label of autism. Even without any label, it's still okay to exist exactly as I am. And yeah, that's still true regardless of any label. The label was just what helped me. But now having that label removed, it's like challenging me to be like, am I still okay with who I am even when there's not some really strict explanation? I mean, it could be PTSD, it could be autism, but what matters is that I'm allowed to exist exactly as I do right now. I'm allowed to struggle with the things I struggle with. I'm allowed to have these personality behavior quirks. Like, I'm allowed to have all this. I'm allowed to socialize in the very specific way that I do. I'm allowed to have all these sensory sensitivities that feel really, really overstimulating. I'm allowed to have all these things, and we can even bring in all the stuff that ADHD, the behaviors that ADHD causes me to have. I don't know if I love the word in there, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I'm allowed to exist exactly as I exist without justification. And that's kind of what this is challenging me to embrace, is that these labels, to me, it feels like an invitation to really release all the labels. I mean, I can still treat trauma, right? And that is something I've been actively doing for a while. If the way it's conceptualized is different now, of like, what are we calling it? What are we pinning everything to? It's different now. Nothing has actually changed about who I am. And that's the really interesting thing about labels. And yeah, I was talking with my friend where it feels like this direct challenge for me to walk it like I talk it, where I'm like, I don't like labels. And now we have this potential removal of a certain label that I felt attached to, and now I have to be like, okay, I'm living with integrity, I'm doing as I say, which is actually being okay without these definitive labels. So yeah, that's kind of what happened today. And you know, I have these videos I posted within the past month talking about having autism, and right now in this moment, I really don't want to delete them, because that was really what I felt at the time. That was my truth at the time. I was speaking from a good place, and I don't know, I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, is that actually misinformation? Because from what I remember, I haven't gone back and rewatched these videos, but I think it's always either explicitly said or not explicitly said that I'm talking about my own experiences. So even if what flavor of brain structure I have doesn't actually align with autism perfectly, I still might have certain accommodations that I've made for myself, or certain things that I've done to help someone who actually does have autism, or someone else who also thinks they have autism, but they actually have PTSD like me, if that is me. Again, this is all a little, I don't want to say hypothetical, but I just don't have complete verification. So that's a huge asterisk with everything I'm saying. But yeah, these past videos, I'm like, maybe I could leave a note or something. Of course, I don't want to cause harm, but anything I say, actually, anything anyone says on the internet should just be taken, it should never be taken as like fact, right? Unless I'm saying, oh, I'm a doctor and I'm I'm a scientist, I blah blah blah. I mean, even those people, I think it's good to have a healthy degree of doubt and skepticism. But I'm just a person, so it's like, don't be taking what I'm saying as, what's the word? It's not law. I just feel like that should be happening anyway. So for me to take these things down, I'm like, oh. You know, I talked about my experience as a baker with autism. Even if it was fake autism and not real autism, I was still talking about like my experiences with having a different brain than neurodivergence. I say that in quotes, but like it is true. But I have a friend who actually really likes talking about the concept of neurodivergence and what it actually means. Because I don't know about you guys, I actually don't have a scan of my brain. It would actually be interesting, but that sounds like it costs money. So I don't actually have a picture of my brain, right? And then like a quote unquote neurotypical normal brain where I'm like, and as you can see, this bump is bigger here than this. Like, I don't have that. I'm purely just guessing, where it's like, is to say we're neurodivergent self-diagnosing too? I mean, I have been diagnosed with ADHD, but a lot of people have symptoms of ADHD, but then they can't be diagnosed. But then it's like, it's still ADHD in practice. But then do they get treated differently? There are a lot of things that I don't have answers to, actually. And the point in this video, maybe is that, and it's also that, yes, I may have misdiagnosed myself, but I don't regret it. Hello, it led to more self-acceptance. Now, what does this mean for the research of autism as a whole? Did I create a snafu? I don't even know what snafu means. I just know my favorite astrologer, one of my favorite astrologers, will say it, and I think that word's hilarious because it's so millennial coded, and I think he's a millennial. Anyway, did I cause a snafu? I don't think I did. How many people watched that video? Not enough to create a snafu, in my opinion. Okay, anyway. Yeah, for anyone else who has self-diagnosed, consider it's just trauma. And I don't want to be like, just trauma. Hello, trauma's so serious. That's why. Like, trauma is no freaking joke, alright? I'm not trying to make it a joke. Humor is just a defense mechanism for me. But trauma, for me, it was like, again, I was talking with my friend. She was like, trauma doesn't need to be dramatic. So if I was having symptoms of trauma as a wee little one, whatever the trauma was, it doesn't matter what exactly it looked like. What matters is that it impacted me. Apparently so much to a point where I literally thought I had autism. And again, I still might. But actually, if the ultimate goal is self-acceptance, it doesn't matter. And I need to let that sit in my body. I need to let that sink in for myself. And just be like, it doesn't matter. Is that the point? Me and points, I feel like I never actually can really give you a definitive one, unless I'm writing an essay, which I haven't done in a while. So, I hope you got from that what you did, if anything. Or maybe you got nothing. But if not, thanks for hanging. I'm just a human. And I hope you, fellow human, are having a great day. Okay. Bye.